The envelope in my hands felt heavier than any burden I had ever carried. Today was the day Amelia was supposed to walk down the aisle and promise forever to a man she barely knew all, because her powerful family refused to see the truth about who she loved. With a deep breath that shook my entire body, I handed the carefully wrapped package to the courier outside my small apartment in Los Angeles, knowing that once it reached the groom it would rip open the carefully constructed lie and force everyone to face the reality we had hidden for 3 long years. I had met Amelia Rossi at a charity gala 3 years earlier. The event was one of those glittering affairs in downtown LA, where the wealthy pretended to care about causes, while networking for their next big deal. I was there as a photographer hired to capture the moments for the foundation. She was there as the daughter of Victor Rossi, the real estate tycoon whose empire was built on old-world values and ironclad family expectations. From the moment our eyes met across the crowded room, something shifted inside me. She had this quiet strength in her dark eyes, a way of smiling that felt like it was meant only for me, even though we were strangers. We talked for hours that night, ignoring the rest of the world. She told me about her work as a corporate lawyer, the pressure to be perfect, the way her mother Sophia watched her every move like a hawk. I shared my passion for capturing raw human emotion through my lens, my struggle to make it as an artist in a city that ate dreamers for breakfast. By the end of the evening we exchanged numbers, and the next day she called me. Our first date was secret, a quiet hike in the hills above the city where no one would recognize the Rossi heiress with a woman like me. We held hands as the sun set, and for the first time in my life I felt truly seen. Our love grew in the shadows. Stolen weekends in my apartment, passionate conversations about life and dreams, secret kisses in parked cars on quiet streets. Amelia was everything I never knew I needed: smart, funny, compassionate, but haunted by the weight of her family name. She loved me fiercely, but the fear of disappointing her parents, her Catholic upbringing, the social circle that would never accept us, gnawed at her. I pushed gently at first, suggesting we come out together, but she always pulled back. Not yet, Isabella. The company is in trouble. Dad's health is failing. It would destroy them. I respected her pace even as it hurt. We built a world of our own filled with small joys. Picnics in hidden parks where she would rest her head on my shoulder and whisper promises of a future when things were different. Late-night phone calls where she would cry about the pressure, and I would comfort her, promising that our love was worth fighting for. But the cracks started showing when her family began pushing the marriage to Richard Harrington, the son of a business partner, whose merger would save the Rossi empire from bankruptcy. It was presented as the perfect solution, a union that would secure the family legacy. Amelia came to me one rainy evening, her eyes red from arguing with her mother. "They want me to marry him, Bella. It's not about love, it's about survival. The company employs hundreds of people. If it goes under, my father might not survive the stress." I tried to hold her close to tell her we could find another way, but she pulled away, the guilt eating her alive. I can't be the one who tears my family apart. Not when they have sacrificed everything for me. That was the beginning of the end, or so I thought. Over the next months the pressure mounted. Sophia Rossi called Amelia daily, reminding her of her duty, the family reputation, the shame of being different in their tight-knit community. Amelia started canceling our dates, making excuses. I felt her slipping away piece by piece. The woman who once looked at me with pure adoration now carried a constant shadow of doubt. During one heated argument she said words that cut deep. "Maybe this is for the best, Isabella. Maybe I was never meant to have this kind of love. The world isn't ready for us." I refused to believe it. I fought for us, reminding her of all the moments we shared, the way she laughed freely only with me, the plans we made for a life together. But the family machine was relentless. They set the wedding date, announced it in all the society pages. Amelia stopped answering my calls for days at a time. The betrayal stung, but I understood the war inside her, the impossible choice between the love that made her feel alive and the family that defined her entire identity. As the wedding day approached, I knew I couldn't just let her go without one last stand. I spent nights compiling everything: our story, the letters she wrote me pouring out her soul, the videos I had secretly recorded of us talking about our dreams, her voice soft and full of love, the photos of us in moments of pure happiness. I put it all in a beautiful handcrafted box with a note addressed to Richard. "You deserve to know the truth before you bind her to a lie. She loves me. She has always loved me. Ask her yourself." Now, standing here watching the courier drive away with my heart, I wondered if I was doing the right thing. Would this gift save her or destroy us all? The price of truth was high, but the price of silence was even higher. Amelia was about to walk into a life that would kill her spirit, and I couldn't let that happen without fighting with every ounce of my being. Little did I know how the next hours would unravel everything we both held dear. Hours ticked by in my apartment as I waited for any sign that the package had arrived at the church. My mind kept replaying the last conversation I had with Amelia 2 weeks ago when she came to me in tears begging me to understand her decision. I had held her then, feeling her body shake with sobs as she explained how her father had collapsed from stress the week before, and how the doctors warned that another shock could be fatal. The merger with the Harrington family was the only lifeline, and Amelia was the price. I begged her to choose us, to run away with me, to start fresh somewhere the Rossi name didn't reach, but she shook her head, the duty drilled into her since childhood winning out. I love you, Isabella, more than anything, but I can't kill my father. Not for my own happiness. That night I lay awake questioning every choice I had made. Was I selfish for wanting her to break free? Was my love worth the destruction it could bring to her world? The next morning I started gathering the evidence, not out of anger, but out of desperation. Each letter I folded into the box carried the weight of her words, written in her elegant handwriting. In one she had written, "I dream of a life where I can hold your hand in public without fear." In another she confessed how the therapy her mother forced her to attend only made her realize how real our bond was. The videos were the hardest part. I edited them carefully, choosing clips where her face lit up when she said my name, clips of us planning a trip to Europe. We never took clips of her crying in my arms after a family dinner, where they had toasted to her future as a wife and mother. I knew the risk. If the gift backfired, Amelia might hate me forever for exposing her at the worst possible moment. But I also knew the cost of doing nothing. She would marry Richard, live a lie, smile for photos while dying inside. I had seen it in her eyes the last time we met, the light fading from them as she accepted the engagement ring. That was the betrayal that hurt most. Not that she said yes to him, but that she had stopped fighting for us. Social prejudice had won. The same circles that praised her beauty and intelligence would turn on her if they knew she loved a woman. Her mother's words echoed in my memory from the one time I overheard a phone call. "This is not who we are, Amelia. God made you for a husband and children, not this confusion." By noon I received a text from a friend who was attending the wedding as a guest. "The package just arrived, Isabella. Richard is opening it now." My stomach twisted. I imagined the scene: the Grand Cathedral in Beverly Hills filled with LA elite, the Rossi family in the front pews, proud and relieved that their daughter was finally doing what was expected. Amelia standing there in the white gown her mother had chosen, the veil hiding the fear I knew was in her eyes. Richard in his tailored tuxedo, handsome on paper, but nothing compared to the connection we shared. When he opened the box and saw the note, his expression would change from curiosity to shock. The videos would play on his phone if he dared, and he would hear Amelia say the words she had never said to him. "I love Isabella. She is my everything." The weight was torture. I paced the floor, imagining every possible outcome. If Richard walked away, the scandal would explode. The Rossi empire might still collapse, but Amelia would be free to choose her own path. If he ignored it and proceeded, I would have to live with the knowledge that I had tried and failed. Either way, the price was steep. For Amelia, it could mean losing her family inheritance, her social standing, everything she had been raised to value. For me, it could mean losing her forever if she blamed me for the chaos. Yet I knew in my heart that true love sometimes required the ultimate sacrifice. I had paid my part by staying silent for so long. Now it was time to pay the rest. The phone rang at exactly 1:15. It was my friend at the church, her voice breathless. "Isabella, you need to hear this." Richard stopped the ceremony. He read the note, looked at Amelia, and asked her straight out if it was true. The whole church went silent. Amelia froze, then nodded. The priest tried to continue, but Richard stepped back and said he couldn't marry someone whose heart belonged to another. Chaos erupted. Sophia's face turned red with rage. Victor looked like he might collapse again. Amelia just stood there, tears streaming down her face, as if a weight had finally lifted. I sank to the floor in my apartment, the relief mixing with terror. This was the moment I had both hoped for and dreaded. The confrontation I had triggered was now unfolding without me there to control it. I could picture Amelia turning to her mother, the woman who had shaped her entire life, and saying the words that had been trapped inside her for years. "Mom, I can't do this anymore. I love Isabella. I have always loved her." The family would see it as the ultimate betrayal. Years of sacrifice, the private schools, the business education, the arranged social events, all thrown away for what they would call a sinful choice. Social prejudice would hit hard. Whispers in their circle would turn to outright shunning. The company merger was dead. The employees her father worried about would face uncertainty because of one decision made in love. Yet I knew the price Amelia was paying in that moment. She had chosen truth over comfort, but at what cost? Her sister Lucia, who had once been her closest ally, had been the one to leak hints to their mother months earlier, a quiet betrayal born of her own fear that Amelia's secret would tarnish the family name. Now Lucia stood there, probably torn between loyalty to parents and love for her sister. The moral dilemma was clear. Was duty to family greater than duty to self? Amelia had wrestled with it every day, trading our happiness for their approval, until the gift forced her hand. I had made the choice for her in a way, and that knowledge sat heavy on my chest. I drove to the church, arriving just as guests spilled out, some stunned, some angry. I stayed in the shadows, watching from across the street, as Amelia emerged without the veil, her face pale, but determined. She spotted me and walked straight over, ignoring her mother's shouts. "Isabella, what have you done?" Her voice cracked, but there was no hate in it, only exhaustion and something like gratitude. I took her hands, feeling the cold metal of the engagement ring she had already removed. "I did what I had to. You were dying inside, Amelia. I couldn't watch it happen." She nodded, tears falling again. "I know. But now everything is broken. Dad won't speak to me. Mom says I'm no longer her daughter. The price is higher than I imagined." We sat in my car for hours, talking through the fallout. She described the internal war that had raged since the engagement, the nights she lay awake wondering if sacrificing our love was the noble thing or the cowardly one. Social expectations had molded her into the perfect daughter, but they had never asked what she wanted. Now in the aftermath, she was awakening to the truth that authenticity carried its own burdens, but also its own freedom. I held her as she cried for the family. She might lose forever, knowing I had played a role in the fracture. The decision I made with the gift was right in my heart, but the damage it caused to the people she loved made me question everything. Days turned into weeks as the scandal rippled through LA society. Headlines in the local papers avoided the full details, but the whispers were loud. The Rossi-Harrington merger collapsed overnight. Victor Rossi suffered a mild heart episode blamed on the stress, though doctors said it was manageable. Sophia stopped taking Amelia's calls completely, a cold silence that cut deeper than any argument. The family business faced boycotts from conservative clients who viewed the revelation as a stain on their reputation. Amelia moved in with me temporarily, her once luxurious life reduced to a suitcase of clothes, and the guilt that followed her everywhere. I watched her struggle with the choices we both had made. Mornings she would sit at the kitchen table staring at her phone, willing her mother to text back. Afternoons she would pace, replaying the altar moment, the way Richard had looked at her with pity mixed with relief. He had told her privately that he suspected something was off, but never imagined the depth of her love for me. His decision to walk away spared them both a loveless marriage, but it also exposed Amelia to the full force of family judgment. She questioned me one night over dinner. "Did I have the right to force this, Isabella? By sending that gift you took away my chance to make the sacrifice quietly. Now everyone pays." Her words stung because they held truth. I had acted out of love, but also out of fear of losing her. The betrayal she felt toward her family mirrored the betrayal she once felt toward me when she agreed to the engagement. We talked for hours about the moral gray area. Was it selfish to choose personal happiness over family stability? Was it braver to endure the lie for the greater good of the company and her parents' health? Amelia described the internal conflict that had consumed her, the therapy sessions where the counselor pushed conversion ideas, the prayers her mother led at dinner begging God to fix her. Social prejudice had convinced her that our love was wrong until the gift shattered that illusion. Confrontations continued. Lucia called once, accusing Amelia of destroying the family for a fling. The conversation ended in tears, with Lucia admitting her own role in the discovery, but defending it as protection. I listened from the other room, realizing how deeply the prejudice ran even within the family. Amelia hung up and turned to me, her eyes hollow. "I traded one kind of pain for another. The family I knew is gone, but for the first time I feel like I can breathe. The awakening was painful but real. She started seeing a new therapist, one who affirmed her identity and helped her process the loss. For me, the price was different. My photography work slowed as clients associated me with the scandal. Friends distanced themselves, uncomfortable with the drama. Yet seeing Amelia come alive again, the way she laughed without looking over her shoulder, made it worth it. We took small steps, rebuilding our life together, walks in the park, where we held hands, openly dinners where we planned a future free of secrets. The road was long and the wounds fresh, but each day brought a new layer of understanding. Love had demanded everything, and we were both paying the cost every single day. Months passed and the dust began to settle in its own messy way. Amelia found a new job at a small law firm that valued her skills over her family name. The Rossi empire survived barely thanks to a last-minute investor, but Victor made it clear through lawyers that Amelia was no longer part of the will. Sophia sent one letter, a single page of scripture, and disappointment that Amelia read aloud to me, her voice steady for the first time. I cried with her that night, holding her as she grieved the mother she had lost. The social prejudice followed us in subtle ways: stares at restaurants, old friends who suddenly had excuses not to meet. Yet we faced it together, stronger for the trials. I reflected often on the gift that started it all. The box I had so carefully prepared had been both weapon and lifeline. Richard had returned it to me weeks later with a note of his own. I wish you both happiness. No one deserves to live a lie. His grace surprised me and highlighted the contrast with Amelia's family. The trade-offs were clear. Amelia had lost financial security and familial love, but gained her authentic self. I had risked our relationship and faced isolation, but gained the woman I loved without barriers. The moral dilemma lingered in quiet moments. Had I been right to intervene, or should I have respected her choice to sacrifice? One evening we drove to the beach where we had shared so many secret happy moments. The sun set in brilliant oranges and pinks as Amelia took my hand. I was angry at first, Isabella, but now I see it was the push I needed. The family pressure had blinded me to what real love looks like. We talked about the awakening, the way truth had forced us both to grow. She admitted the internal battles she still fought, the guilt that surfaced in dreams, but also the joy of waking up beside me without hiding. Our bond had survived the ultimate test. Confrontations with the past continued. Amelia met Lucia for coffee in a neutral cafe. The conversation was tense at first, accusations flying, but ended with a tentative hug and the promise to stay in touch. Small steps toward healing. I waited outside, giving them space, knowing that full reconciliation might never come, but any bridge was better than none. The experience taught me that decisions made in love carry consequences that ripple far beyond the moment. The price each of us paid was real and ongoing, yet it had led to a life that felt honest and full. A year later we stood on that same beach watching the waves crash under a clear sky. Amelia had started her own small legal practice, helping others facing similar family pressures. I had published a photo book capturing stories of love against the odds, and it had brought new opportunities. The scandal had faded into society gossip, but the lessons remained etched in us. We had faced betrayal from those closest to us, traded security for freedom, and awakened to a strength we never knew we possessed. The internal conflicts that once tore Amelia apart now fueled her advocacy work. She spoke openly about the cost of societal expectations and the courage required to choose self over tradition. Looking back at the wedding day, I still wondered about the line between intervention and interference. My gift had halted the ceremony, exposed the truth, and set Amelia free, but it had also shattered her family and forced her to confront the deepest parts of her identity. She turned to me on the sand, her eyes clear and full of the love that had survived everything. I don't regret it, Isabella. The pain was necessary. It showed me what matters most. We embraced as the sun dipped lower, the same tenderness we had shared in secret now open for the world to see. The journey had been one of constant decisions and constant prices. Family pressure had nearly broken us. Social prejudice had tested our resolve. Moral questions about right and wrong had kept us awake at night. Yet through it all we emerged more united, more aware of the value of authenticity. The story of our love was not perfect, but it was ours, built on sacrifice and awakening. In choosing between family duty and authentic love, did Amelia's sacrifice make her noble or cowardly? And would you have sent that gift knowing the pain it would unleash?